make sure that innovation doesn't get stagnant? Our next panel is how to create the innovation feedback loop. Joining me on stage is Danny Zaslavsky from VinQ.
Going on tour with my family and friends. Record the vocals and send it to friends. Do it again and again and again.
I am a dealer. I own a car dealership, and I started a software company years ago, and we wanted to stay true to purpose. And so let's define the algorithm for innovation. People, you, me, we have ideas, right? And those ideas will turn into process. The point is here, process could be trade appraisal process, acquisition process, merchandising process, pricing process, marketing process. And if you think about the people in your organization that are each touching one of these processes, processes are really created for two reasons: to create efficiency or profitability, right? Technology merely scales process, not the other way around. And so I made the mistake years ago of going into a show like this and saying, okay, what do you do, how do you do it, and how is it going to make me better? And then they would install it, and if the technology was great, I would have a good outcome. But if the technology sucked, then I would have a bad outcome. As leaders...
And you're a dealer, too,
And I'm a dealer, that's right.
Yeah. And so you're saying, like, I would go find a thing, put it in my store.
I'd be the passenger of the outcome versus the driver.
Got it.
And so the goal is process is the champion. So let's take that a little bit further. That's how I define innovation. So today we're talking about the innovation feedback loop. And in a few minutes, we've got the great pleasure of bringing up some people who have challenged us to build some things. But this is the way that we think. Inspiration, ideation, build, test, execution, observe, measure, evolve, and adapt. So let's break this down. Point is, this is a loop. Let's go into inspiration, ideation. The first step here, this is where you build curiosity. This is where you build insights. Years ago, I shared this quote I really liked: pain pushes, vision pulls. And it's this idea that you will either be pushed by pain to the point of surrender and say, this is the way it's always been, nothing's gonna change, or you'll move into vision. And vision's really fun because vision's gonna tell you, this is the outcome that I want. Inspiration, ideation is the beginning of innovation. The next is build, test, and execution, right? You gotta be bold in building out what is the process and then how do we scale it with technology. Now, the booby trap is most people get stuck between inspiration, ideation, and then building. And then they'll fail, and then they'll just kind of go back and forth. And I've heard this at my own store years ago. Well, we just have meetings, we talk about things, and nothing ever changes. Well, because they get stuck here. Let me tell you how to get past that. The next step is observe and measure. So this is where we use data.
Real quick, I think that it's important that you said test.
Yes.
Right? That testing something, right? If we go back to like grade school, when I created like a thesis, right, which is the idea, that what would happen is you would create the thesis, right? And then you would have to go like do multiple ways, like try it this way, test it this way, test it that way, control, ideation, right? And actually testing was not the final state. And I think that that's an important part of this, right?
It is, because think about it this way. Like in my business, we are appraisal, we are inventory management, we are merchandising, we are syndication, we are new car, we are used car, we are incentive management. In all of these different areas is an opportunity for efficiency and profitability. And when I ask somebody, how do you appraise a car? They'll tell me, well, this is the way I've always done it, or I look at market day supply. The point is, the insights on the screen drive the behavior that drive the outcome, and the outcome drives the profit and loss. So if we can be curious about the information that we're ingesting, right, for the outcomes we're expecting, it really changes the game.
Yeah, and so I think when you test something, and then you were saying the screens are what drive the behavior, right? The screens really have the observation and measurement of all of the testing that we're doing, and we're continually testing, right? If this is a loop, you're telling me that build and test is actually potentially always going on.
It's always going on.
Observing and measuring is always going on. So if we're building and testing, observing and measuring, the only way to get the loop back to the beginning is you tell them. I don't want to tell them.
Evolve and adapt. At the end of the loop is the opportunity to start over, and that's the point. When I started the software company, there was a part of me that thought, we're going to build something, people are going to use it, it's going to be great. but that's actually not how it works, right? The process is always evolving. And so now that we know that it's a loop, let's talk about why we're doing this. So attributes of an innovator. Obviously, we need to be visionary, but not everybody has vision, right? And as I look out into the world of people I work with, there are people who have superpowers of execution, there are people who have superpowers of vision, and when the two intersect, magic happens. So be a heat-seeking missile of those people within your organization that both understand the essential problem that you're trying to solve, and then are also curious about that innovation feedback loop. Be relentless in the pursuit of that, be results-oriented, and most important, be humble to it. Because intent, in my opinion, drives every outcome.